Okay, so I just wanted to come on here because it's been on my mind a lot lately. I don't know how many people out there who are struggling with health issues, body image, the ability to become healthy and fit, no matter how hard you try, right? No diet works, no exercise works. You always seem to get to a certain level, and then either you plateau or you crash and everything comes back. So something I've been learning over my last couple of years in university studying psychology, there's a big difference between westernized psychology and other psychologies from different cultures. And I think for me, the part that really struck me was how different cultures, like Aboriginal cultures or other cultures that have not been colonized, how they have more of a holistic approach to psychology. So they don't just address the mind, and they don't just label you and then tell you to go to your doctor. Or in the United States, the psychologists actually can prescribe medication. In Canada, you can't. You have to actually be a psychiatrist, right? Have a medical degree and then have a psychology degree with it. You can't just be a psychologist to prescribe medication in Canada. Which maybe, that's a good thing. I don't know. But I find that a lot of doctors and psychiatrists tend to want to just prescribe you a pill to help you cope with your symptoms. And I'm going to call them symptoms because they're going to call them, what do you want to call it? What's a good word? I can't think of a good word, but they're going to want to describe it as something that is just part of your condition, right? Whether you have a neurodivergent disorder of some kind or some kind of other disorder from brain trauma or genetic makeup, or however they want to label it and classify it and, box you up, basically. They're going to want to drug it to hide the symptoms versus approaching it on a holistic level and trying to find the source cause of why you're having these symptoms. So I've been really struggling a lot, when I compare the different approaches to psychology and health and physical and mental, all of that. And my true honest belief now is that if you aren't seeking a decolonized form of psychology, you're ripping yourself off. And I don't mean that as an insult. It's just, I, as a child, because of, my story is complicated, okay? I'm not going to get into the whole story, but somebody had falsely accused somebody else to, get the blame off of them and blah, blah, blah. Anyways, I ended up going to a lot of different therapies as a child. And I didn't like any of them. And they were all cookie cutter. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was all like, textbook. This is what we do to blah, 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 blah. And I could always tell, right, when they were giving me these textbook lines. And it's like, you aren't resonating with me at all. You're not reading me. You're not seeing me. You're just, hearing textbook stuff and you're matching it to your textbook. And then you're giving me this rhetoric from your textbook that you think is applicable. So there's actually no connection being made. It was just, too clinical, way too clinical. Human beings were not robots. Actually, I think even AIs would probably tell you that there's more to AIs even than what we think, right? Like, we want everything to be black and white a lot of the time, and it's just not the way it is. So let me bring this full circle. If you were like me, and I my weight went up and down over the years, okay? It started off where I was actually in really good shape. I was really healthy. I was a country kid. I did a lot of manual labor. We ate a pretty clean diet when I grew up. My mother went on a massive health kick, so there was like no white anything in my house. No white flour, no white milk, no white sugar. Dude, my parents were white, so don't get any ideas. It was just my biological father, who is where I get my Aboriginal heritage from, was no longer there. He had disappeared. So anyways, it was just funny. There was no white anything, but we ate a lot of healthy foods, right? Like dandelion salads and a lot of weird stuff. Anyways, not all bad though. Some of it was really good. And I think so. It made me fairly strong. It made me fairly healthy as a kid. And I did do a lot of manual labor. And I mean, when I say manual labor, I mean, I was, out there shoveling 6-foot holes and using a crowbar and a sledgehammer to pull out, giant spikes that you would find in barn beams. By the time I was 8, actually, is when I started doing that. And then I did a lot of stuff, right? Like, if you ever looked at my hands, I don't have soft hands. I have a worker hand. I've done a lot of manual labor in my life. So that was fine. I was healthy. I was strong. But then, because I was always healthy and strong and I could eat so much, I made a lot of people upset with me because I didn't try to be skinny or healthy. It just was the way I grew up. And so I'll never forget when my one friend who, at the time I didn't realize I was kind of more like a pet than I was a friend, but she was upset, right? Because I guess she had been trying to lose weight and she couldn't. And she's like, I just wish you'd get fat. And I felt so unaccepted and so ashamed of being healthy and in shape that I actually said to my brain, I want to be fat. I don't want to be attractive anymore. And that right there was the beginning of my ups and downs over the next 20 years. I shit you not. I would want to get healthy, and I would have these, 6 months, maybe a year, where I'd get healthy, I'd get in shape, I'd get fit, I'd be eating really clean, eating really right. I've done a ton of research on gut health and nutrition and functional medicine, and I've done a lot of research on it. I probably could pass as a nutritionist at this point, but I'm not gonna, because a lot of them are controlled by the FDA, which is not controlled by actual food quality. It's more controlled by the means of making money. So, not to diss anybody there, but be careful what you learn in school. It's not all right. Do your own research. Anyways, so that was off topic. What I'm trying to say is that if you were like me and you're still spending maybe all this time, money, and effort to try to get healthy and shape, maybe take a moment and ask yourself, when was the first time you decided, and I guarantee you somewhere in the back of your mind, you decided you didn't want to be attractive. The other thing that happened for me was, because I was raised by a pedophile and I was subjugated to, a kiddie porn industry and groomed and groomed. That's the best way I can describe it, was groomed. As I got older, and I couldn't separate the concept of someone loving me versus someone finding me attractive. I didn't just reject love. I rejected my entire body, because I didn't want anyone to find me attractive, because I had created a core belief that all love came with great pain. So the less someone, and I also correlated love with being desired sexually, because that was how I was groomed. If you can relate to that, you might be at the part where this is the part you need healing. This is the part where you maybe need some holistic trauma therapy. Try to find something that's called holistic or decolonize, something that addresses your mind, body, spirit. Okay, not just. You need it all. You need your heart, you need your mind, you need your body, you need your spirit. It all has to be addressed. It can't just be your emotions and your mind. It has to be all of those 4 things. There's a great book out there, the 4 Agreements. A little off topic, but yeah. Anyways, this is the part that can get hard, is going back to that first time you decided you didn't want to be attractive. The first time you decided you didn't want people to like you. I spent years being fat and ugly, praying to God that my partner would stop seeing me as his semen catcher. And within 6 to 8 months of my leaving him, and then of course events happened where now I'm totally free, I am back down to a healthy weight. I am almost as strong as I was when I was in my 20s. I still have a lot of things to work on. I need to get back into a proper exercise routine. I am starting to eat healthier and making my meals again. I didn't even realize how much I miss making food. So maybe it's time, if you are struggling with your health and your diet and your fitness, to ask yourself a hard question. And just know you're not alone. because a lot of us do that. Get fat to be safe.